Every great story begins with a single, honest note. Today we're honored to share the opening of The Resonance of Silence, the story of Elara Vance, by creative visionary Misa Anne Brehm. These first 3 chapters take us deep into the heart of the valley, where silence is about to be broken. To follow Elara further, look for the paperback extended edition on Amazon. This is where it begins. Chapter 1: The Wrong Note. The air in the Oak Haven Baptist Church smelled of lemon polish and elderly perfume, a scent that always felt a little too heavy for Elara to breathe. It was a humid Sunday in July, the kind where the ceiling fans did nothing but stir the stagnant heat, and the congregation's collective breath seemed to hum with a restless, rhythmic beat. Elara sat between her mother Martha and her younger brother Leo. Martha sat perfectly upright. Her spine was a rigid line of practiced grace, her gloved hands resting lightly on the hymnal. Elara, at 14, felt like a tangled knot in comparison. Her dress, a modest floral print that Martha had picked out, it felt scratchy against her skin. Her mind was elsewhere, drifting toward the creek behind their house, where the water whispered secrets the town seemed to have forgotten. The choir director, a man named Mr. Henderson, whose face always looked like he'd just swallowed something sour, raised his baton. "Hymn number 242, he announced. His voice echoed off the dark wood rafters. "Great is thy faithfulness." The organ groaned to life, a deep, vibrating rumble that Elara felt in her marrow. As the congregation rose, a sea of Sunday best, the familiar melody began. It was a sturdy, predictable tune, one Elara had heard every week since she was in diapers. "Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father." The voices joined in, a solid wall of sound. Elara sang along, her voice small and obedient, tucked neatly inside the soprano line. But as they reached the chorus, something shifted. A different sound, a silver thread of a melody she'd never heard before, began to weave itself through her mind. It wasn't the melody they were singing, it was a counterpoint, a delicate, haunting harmony that seemed to rise from the very stones of the church. Without thinking, without even realizing she was doing it, Elara let a soft, high note slip out, a sharp C-sharp that cut through the unison like a needle through silk. It wasn't loud, but in the calculated stillness of the sanctuary, it was a thunderclap. Beside her, Martha's singing didn't falter, but her hand clamped down on Elara's forearm. The grip was firm, a silent command. "Stay on the melody, Elara," Martha whispered through a tight, frozen smile, her eyes never leaving the hymnal. "Don't draw attention to yourself." Elara's voice died in her throat. The silver thread snapped. She looked down at the page. The black notes suddenly looked like iron bars. The rest of the service passed in a blur of scripted prayers and a sermon about the virtues of a quiet and peaceable life. But the silence in Elara's chest felt louder than any sermon. She realized then that in Oak Haven, music wasn't about the notes you sang. It was about the notes you didn't. Chapter 2: The Wisteria Gate. The house at the end of Willow Lane didn't just have a garden. It was being slowly consumed by one. Massive, gnarled vines of wisteria draped over the porch like heavy velvet curtains, their pale purple blooms drooping in the humidity. To the rest of Oak Haven, Miss Adelaide's house was an eyesore, an unruly mess that defied the town's strict landscaping ordinances. To 17-year-old Elara, it looked like a place that was finally breathing. Elara stood at the gate, her sheet music pressed against her chest like a shield. She had spent 3 years playing the correct way. Perfect posture, precise timing, and a tone as flat and unremarkable as a paved road. It was exactly what her mother wanted, but the silence in Elara's head had grown deafening, and the secret melodies were starting to feel like trapped birds clawing at her ribs. The front door creaked open before she could knock. Miss Adelaide stood there, a woman who looked remarkably like her house, silver hair wild and unpinned, wearing a silk caftan that smelled of jasmine and old paper. "Well, don't just stand there catching flies, Elara Vance. Come in. The tea is getting lonely," Adelaide said. Her voice was like gravel over silk. The piano is waiting, and it's a temperamental creature today. The parlor was a graveyard of artifacts, stacks of yellowed Chopin scores, a tarnished metronome, and at the center, a Steinway grand that seemed to hum with its own gravity. Elara sat, adjusted her skirt, and began the Mozart sonata she had practiced for 6 weeks. Her fingers moved with mathematical precision. Every note was exactly where the page said it should be. When she finished, she waited for the usual nod of approval she got at home. Instead, Adelaide slammed a hand onto the high keys, a discordant crash that made Elara jump. "Horrible," Adelaide remarked, peering at Elara over her spectacles. "Technically flawless, emotionally dead. You're playing like a robot programmed by a committee of librarians." Elara felt the familiar sting of heat in her cheeks. "My mother says precision is..." "No, your mother wants you to be a hedge," Adelaide interrupted. She walked toward the window to gesture at the perfectly manicured, identical lawns of the neighbors. Trimmed, predictable, and safely contained. "But look at your hands, girl. You weren't born to be a boundary." Adelaide leaned over the piano, her eyes narrowing. Oakhaven is a town of hedges. They spend their whole lives making sure nothing grows too tall or turns too bright. But music is a wildfire. It doesn't ask for permission to burn. She pointed to the keys. "Again, and this time if you play it the way it's written on that sterile white page, I'm sending you home. Give me the note you're hiding. Give me the wildfire." Elara looked at the keys. For the first time, she didn't see iron bars. She saw a spark. Chapter 3: Cracks in the Porcelain. The Vance household was built on a foundation of fine. The curtains were always pressed, the lawn was always edged, and the conversations always hummed at a polite, controlled frequency. But when Elara returned from Miss Adelaide's, the air inside the house felt brittle, like frozen glass. She found her father, Samuel, sitting at the heavy oak kitchen table. In front of him lay her leather-bound notebook, the one she hid beneath her mattress, filled with staff lines that bled into poetry. "I was looking for your misplaced hymnal," Samuel said. His voice wasn't loud, which was somehow worse. It was the voice he used when he was disappointed in a harvest. "I found this instead." Elara's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic percussion. "It's just practice, Dad. Thoughts." "Practice?" He flipped a page, his finger landing on a lyric about the way the moonlight looked like spilled milk on the creek. "This isn't praise, Elara. This is vanity. It's I and me and my feelings. It's the music of the world, designed to draw the eye to the singer instead of the creator." Martha appeared in the doorway, her arms crossed. "We've tried to raise you to be a light, Elara, but a light doesn't choose its own color. It reflects the truth. This," she gestured to the notebook as if it were stained, "this is rebellion. It's a wild sound. It's not Oakhaven. Maybe Oakhaven is looking in the wrong places." The words jumped out of Elara before she could catch them. The silence that followed was suffocating. "You say God is only in the hymns, but I hear him in the wisteria. I hear him in the way the wind cracks the branches. If I only sing what you tell me to, I'm not a servant. I'm a mime." Samuel stood up, the chair scraping harshly against the linoleum. "Music is a ministry of order. This is a ministry of self." He didn't tear the book. He did something worse. He handed it back to her with a look of profound pity. "You're chasing echoes, Elara, and echoes always fade into nothing." Elara took the notebook, her fingers trembling. She realized then that the porcelain life her parents had built for her had no room for her resonance. To them, her growth was a crack in the set. To her, it was the only way the light could get in. If she stayed, she wouldn't just be quiet. She would disappear.
Hi everyone, this is Misa Anne Brehm. The silence has been broken, but Elara's journey is only just beginning. You've been listening to a special preview of my debut novel, The Resonance of Silence, the story of Elara Vance. If you're ready to hear the rest of the symphony, the full story is waiting for you right now on Amazon. You can find it both in paperback and Kindle. But before we go, I have some really exciting news to share. The follow-up to my first book, The Latency Between Us, is officially dropping this Saturday, May 9th. For the launch this weekend, it'll be available exclusively on Kindle. So, if you want to be among the first to read it, you can head over to Amazon right now to secure your pre-order, or just grab your digital copy this Saturday. I am so proud of this story, and I honestly can't wait for you to experience it. Thank you so much for listening to The Residents and for being a part of this journey with me.